Hello, I'm Rick Chisa, Government Relations Director for Public School Employees of Washington. Here is a brief introduction to PSE's 2021 legislative platform. Please note the general issues that I will be presenting here are the high priority positions that PSE will advocate for during the 2021 legislative session. In short, this is PSE's game plan for the 105-day session that starts January 11th. PSE will advocate the education support professional perspective on many other issues that arise during the session and take positions consistent with PSE's legislative policy. You can download a copy of this PSE platform by logging into your member portal on the PSE website. Before we get started, a few words about the member approval process. Each year, beginning in September, the PSE legislative platform is guided through a deliberative review and approval process by elected union member leaders at every step. PSE's Legislative Council responds to an initial draft by staff. Council members offer additions and revisions and ultimately vote to recommend the legislative platform to the Board of Directors. In a public meeting, the Board of Directors discusses and votes to approve the legislative platform. Now on to the 21 platform itself. Number 1, Paramount Duty. The Washington State Constitution states that it is the paramount duty of the state of Washington to provide ample funding for K-12 education. Ample means more than adequate. There is a reason why K-12 education takes up more than half of the state budget. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the state of Washington has a $2.4 billion budget shortfall. Lawmakers will either need to reduce costs or increase state revenues to balance the budget. I'll discuss state revenue options in just a few minutes. With the profound educational, social, and emotional needs of our students, there is no defensible reason for lawmakers to make any cuts to K-12 programs, staffing, or benefits in order to balance the state budget. In short, our message to lawmakers is do no harm. Number 2, jobs and services. Work has dignity. That's why we desperately need to return 1,500 PSE union members who remain out of work across the state back to their jobs serving and instructing students. This past summer, large numbers of bus drivers were getting laid off. In some school districts, the entire workforce was either laid off or furloughed. PSE won a big victory when Governor Inslee issued a proclamation on August 26th to resolve the pupil transportation crisis and put a stop to mass layoffs in bus barns all across the state. Today, PSE continues the effort to get all of our members back to work, earning a full paycheck and receiving all of their work-related benefits. And we're fighting to keep anyone else from losing their job due to uncertainty over state funding. We need lawmakers to do their job and fully fund all K-12 education programs. Number 3, health insurance. Working together with our labor partners, PSE was successful in getting Senate Bill 6189 passed in 2020. This legislation preserved health insurance coverage for thousands of K-12 employees displaced by school closures, including all who had their work hours reduced, most who were furloughed, and many more who were laid off from their jobs. SB 6189 is still in effect today, but we may have to defend against efforts to repeal this vital insurance protection. You can help by telling your lawmakers that school workers must continue to have access to their health insurance during the public health emergency. Number 4, Paraeducator Certification. PSE has led the way for many years to establish employment standards and a first-in-the-nation certification program for paraeducators. This is a huge deal. Many other states are looking to Washington to provide a bright example of how to develop high-quality professional development and a career ladder for our state's 23,000 paraeducators. We cannot allow a pandemic or economic pressures to slow down the important momentum we have built. Governor Inslee agrees with us, which is why his proposed operating budget invests $14 million to preserve the 14 hours of paid professional development time each year. Now, to be clear, the governor's proposed budget helps, but it is only a proposal. Lawmakers will have the last word. They may or may not decide to maintain funding for professional development time for paraeducators. Paras, you must have your voices heard in this process. Please talk to your legislators. Tell them about the skills and the knowledge that you've gained through this training. Number 5, CBAs. PSC higher education leaders work hard every 2 years to negotiate new contracts with their universities. This is the year we need the legislature to ratify and fund those collective bargaining agreements for our union members. So far, members at Central Washington University have reached a tentative agreement, while our bargaining team at Western Washington University will meet in mediation in mid-January. We also need lawmakers to fully fund health insurance agreements for employees enrolled in the SEBB and the PEBB programs, covering 385,000 employees, spouses, and dependents. Please note, the legislature does not need to approve the collective bargaining agreement for PSC members at Eastern Washington University. PSC members at EWU are part of a bargaining unit of exempt employees, and under state law, their CBA does not require legislative approval. Number 6, higher education. Our regional universities are really hurting during this pandemic. Student enrollment is way down, as many students are delaying their education until it's safe to return. And that means tuition revenue, a big revenue source for our 4-year universities, is also greatly reduced. Further, the number of students living on campus is also down, as almost all college courses are held online. This substantial loss of campus housing and food service revenue only adds to a very negative budget picture for our universities. The bottom line is this: universities need a lifeline from Olympia. They cannot tolerate any further funding reductions from the legislature, which would only result in more furloughs and layoffs among our higher education membership. PSC is calling on lawmakers to provide adequate operating financial support for 4-year higher education institutions during the current fiscal emergency. Number 7, revenue. Going into 2021, the state budget deficit is projected at $2.4 billion. We need new state revenue to prevent painful cuts to education and other public services, as well as preserving those critical economic supports that many working families need right now. We also need new progressive revenue to balance our upside-down tax code. Currently, low and middle income Washingtonians pay up to a 7 times higher percentage than the wealthy do in taxes. By asking the wealthiest few to pay more in taxes, those individuals and businesses that are seeing record profits will contribute more, and everyone will benefit. You can help send this message to our elected officials by signing a petition. Go to www.investwanow.org. That's investwanow.org. Number 8, workplace safety. Recently, Governor Inslee revised state guidelines to allow the gradual reopening of our schools. And in late December, Congress finally passed another COVID relief bill, which includes $54 billion in direct aid to public schools and $23 billion for colleges and universities affected by the pandemic. Of these funds, Washington State is estimated to receive $824 million for K-12 and $372 million for higher education. These monies will go a long way to providing the resources our schools and universities need to ensure safe working conditions for everyone. These are both positive developments, yet there's still more to be done for education support professionals during the pandemic. Our state leaders need to continue to step up and approve adequate resources, including personal protective equipment and other health and safety tools, training in the best use of PPE and other materials, and appropriate notification of positive cases in school buildings in order to keep both students and staff safe. Number 9, healthcare consolidation. A few moments ago, I spoke about ratifying the SEB and PEB contracts. This year, PSEU will also be closely watching efforts to consolidate both the PEB and SEB systems into a single statewide insurance pool. A recent study by the State Healthcare Authority has identified some administrative efficiencies and savings that could be achieved by merging the two plans. PSE believes it's too soon to look at another major overhaul of our health insurance. We fought hard to establish the new SEB system specifically for K-12 employees. SEB is still in its infancy, and employees in school districts are still figuring things out. Further, PSE believes the insurance needs and the work patterns of K-12 and state and higher education employees are vastly different. We also warn lawmakers not to adversely affect employee benefit levels or premium cost share amounts. Number 10, union rights. House Bill 1888 was among PSE's biggest victories of 2020. This was the bill to defend against the Freedom Foundation's request to harvest massive amounts of private employee information from the Department of Retirement Systems. PSE won that fight against the Freedom Foundation and will continue to support efforts by the legislature to strengthen the rights of all public employees to unionize, fully participate in support of their union, protect their privacy, and push back against constant harassment by the Anti-Worker Freedom Foundation. And finally, number 11, pensions. Washington's pensions for public employees are strong and they are well invested. We must keep our pensions strong regardless of any statewide economic situation. PSE will work to ensure that legislators don't make any short-sighted decisions in order to balance the budget, like lowering monthly pension contribution amounts for employers or employees. Such a move would only threaten the long-term stability of our pensions and put off today's payments until some point in the future. Let's stay the course instead. Now, whatever your technology, you can find out all sorts of additional information on the measures I just talked about. Your first stop ought to be the member portal on the PSE website. You'll find all the information related to the legislative conference, including a printable copy of PSE's platform. I'll be posting updates throughout the session on the legislative updates section. You can also go to leg.wa.gov. This is the website for the House and Senate. Click on bill information where you can find the text of the actual bills and laws, descriptions of what the bills would do, summaries of public testimony, links to TVW programming, and also roll call vote records. Click on either the House or the Senate and look up information on the lawmakers who represent you in Olympia, including what bills they are sponsoring. Another good source for following the legislature is TVW, Washington's version of C-SPAN. All of the content of the House and Senate committees and floor action are all shown on TVW and stored in their archives. Thank you for joining this session on the 2021 PSE Legislative Platform. I hope you'll stay in touch. I'm Rick Chisa in Olympia.